Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. This is Editor Jerry. I just wanted to give a brief little warning before this podcast. Just that most of this podcast is going to be music, and for about half of Babby's segment, there is some audio issues. He is cutting out a little bit. We eventually find out how to fix it and fix it about halfway through, but just wanted to let you know that that is on our side and nothing to do with you. So, with that out of the way, let's just jump into it. Hi ho ho, it's me, Devin Sawa, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby. Oh. We have a fun and exciting episode planned as always. Truthfully, I haven't watched an Elvis movie. I should have, but I'm an utter failure. Also, my dog was in a hospital and she keeps trying to chew on her open wound. So it makes it kind of difficult to really enjoy life. So I finally watched a movie right before this, but I probably picked a bad one. I was just scrolling on Max, formerly known as HBO Max, the Everything app.
Which will now be HBO Max again.
Did they revert it back?
Uh-huh.
Are you being for serious?
No, I'm being real.
You're being real? When was this announced?
Like last week.
Why haven't I heard about this?
I don't know.
Are you yanking my chain?
Some sort of fraud? No, I'm not. This is real.
Oh yeah, this is real. Oh, this Max is becoming HBO Max. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why did they make it HBO Max?
We made a oopsie.
Whoops. Yeah, I could have told you that, Mr. Zavlov. Okay, well, this is a month-old news. This press release was released in May 14th, so I'm very late to the party. I don't know how I missed this. That's so awesome. Okay, so I was scrolling on HBO Max, formerly HBO Max, and I was just scrolling on the movies section, and I saw that they finally renamed all of the Final Destination movies. Renamed, I hear you saying. Yes, renamed. You see, Final Destination is like every single other horror movie franchise where all of the naming conventions don't really line up. Like the first couple are named, and then they switch to subtitles, and then they were gone forever. And now Final Destination is back, but it's back to this one's called Final Destination 7. So they had to retroactively go back and change all of the old movies to be numbered instead of what they were before. And isn't that fun? I think. Never mind, this one is called Final Destination Bloodlines, but they still numbered the other ones. This is weird, okay? Because the first three were just Final Destination 1, 2, 3. Then the fourth one is called The Final Destination. And then it's Final Destination 5, and now it's Final Destination Bloodlines, which really is just very inconsistent. But they redid all the posters, so now all of them have numbers, and they definitely don't look cheap and or AI generated. But I was curious, so I decided, hey, I should just watch the first one, see what all the hubbub is about, because I was kind of curious, because I think these things are advertised as horror movies, And I don't really think that's what they are. It's kind of a weird concept. But let's talk about it a little bit. Because I watched this movie and I didn't watch anything else this week. So what else am I going to talk about? Politics, the agricultural economy, or DuPont.
DuPont.
Want me to talk about DuPont?
That'd be interesting.
I don't know anything about them except
Well,
that
maybe
they
you
were
should know.
well, except they were like pumping chemicals in the water that were turning the frickin' frogs gay or whatever.
That's true.
Or they was doing something else. It was giving people cancer. That's probably
Yeah, I
more
think so.
realistic. Well, nothing that sad happens in the Final Destination movies, so I guess you can relax. It's not going to be as heavy as last week. I think maybe that was it too. Is that after I watched Cannibal Holocaust, I needed a break, just in general. So now I'm back. Watched the first Final Destination movie, and the premise for this movie is kind of interesting. For those who don't know, and I think this is the general format for all of these movies, the movie starts out and it's a group of people. They're going to be doing a thing. I think, well, in this one, it's that they're getting on a plane to Paris. I think other ones, they're like getting on roller coasters or getting on the bus or something. Whatever. They're getting on some sort of vehicle and they have a vision. One person has a vision where everybody dies on said thing. And so the person who has the vision was like, hey, let's not go on this. I just had a vision, an out of body experience where I just watched everyone I know die. So let's get off the plane. That's what they say in the first one, anyways. And so then they get off the plane and then the plane blows up. And then they're like, oh crap. All of the people that followed this guy are the only people that survived the big accident. I guess Chuck Margolis was in charge of that plane. Is that the guy's name? I know Margolis is the last name. I don't remember the first name of Jane's dad. Chuck sounds correct.
I don't remember.
Okay. I'm going to just search Jane's dad and it's probably going to be there. Donald Margolis.
Donald.
Frick. Well, you got what I was saying anyways. Plane crash. That dude was so sad that the chick from the Marvel show croaked. Yeah, it's a reference and you can appreciate that, I think. But anyways, they get off the plane and then whatever. They survive. And then the person who has the vision breaks down the list because I guess the whole premise is that death basically feels like that those people cheated him because they were like destined to die that day. So now he has to work backwards and I guess kill all the people that survived in order to make up for it. I don't really know. I don't think it's ever explained. But he has to work back, and the franchise takes all sorts of loops and whatever of like how death does this. But in the first one, it's pretty straightforward because the plane crash was caused by an explosion that was basically set off by some sort of spark getting into the like ventilation shaft of the airplane and setting off a series of explosions that blew up the planes. And wouldn't you know it, all of the survivors were sitting directly over the pipes on the exact spots where they were going to get exploded, but they weren't exploded because they fell off the plane, or they didn't fall off. I guess they did fall off, like in the social sense, because then they get really sad and they aren't cool anymore because they survived a national tragedy, which is just kind of lame, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. If you survive a national tragedy, you should at least look on the bright side. That would be my advice.
How to become a media figure.
Yeah. Hey, CNN, get me on your program. Yes, it's bad that this plane exploded, but why are you guys so mad all the time? Can't we all just get along? Or something like that. I don't think CNN says that.
I'm always saying that.
I don't know what CNN is saying. I don't watch that program.
I don't watch liberal media.
Exactly right. I don't watch any media. I'm a free thinker. I just go to my local church of Scientology, dog. That's where I get my information.
As you should.
I don't remember what I was talking about.
Plane crash.
Plane crash, and then the death list. And so those series of explosions, I guess, happened in an order where it was like a cascading explosion that went down the pipes. And so based on where the explosions go first is the first one to get killed, and then as that chain goes, all of the people sitting in the seats along the chains, that's the order that they're going to die. It's kind of hard to explain, but it makes more sense when you can see it visually. And they do. They have like a map, and then the guy does like an investigation scene, which is pretty sick. But that's the premise. But I don't think anyone who watches these movies cares about that, because what Final Destination is known for, above all else, is the kooky death scenes. Yes, it's true. I guess Death, in his escapade to get retribution on those dang teens, he's just like, I'm going to make a bunch of convoluted Rube Goldberg traps where, like, they're so complicated that, like, nobody would ever die in these circumstances. I'm trying to think of one that would be, like, snappy, because they're okay. Here's one, and this kind of goes to show one of the things, because another rule that Death has is that you can't kill yourself before it's your time. So the people on the list, like, you can't, if you were last on the list and you were like, I'm going to kill myself in order to save everybody else, I'm a hero, I am a noble figure, I'm going to put this gun up to my temple and pull the trigger. Uh-oh, the gun jammed. Or I'm going to take these scissors and stab myself in the throat. Uh-oh, I forgot that I had neck armor plating surgery and I can't do that. I guess I'm SOL, as the kids say. You can't break the rules. You can't break the line. And so one of the characters tries to do that in the Final Destination film, the one that I watched. And the guy, he's like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm so sad. I need to take some power back in my life, because I guess it's implied that he has an abusive family life or something. But that's the only line that he says that alludes to that, and he's not really a character. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But he basically parks his car on the train tracks while everyone else is still in it, which is odd, but I guess it's a choice that he made. And so he's trying to kill himself, but that would be breaking the rules. He wasn't next. So Devon Sawa has to go in and rescue him, pulls him out of the car at the last second. Right as the train is about to hit the car, they yank him out because it's a tense scene. But one of the guys whose turn it was is with them, and he got out of the car earlier, but a shred of scrap metal from the car for when the train ran over the car is on the tracks, and as the train is passing by, the wheels kick up the scrap metal and completely decapitate the other guy that was supposed to be killed. It was his turn on the list. So that's That's death rules. You can just get murdered in very creative ways. It's and they'd be really hard to say because they're very long. That's like the shortest one, because that dude just gets decapitated. But that's the premise of the movie. They're just basically like, I guess we're gonna die. Let's try to stop death. Which death, by the way, is played by the late great Tony Todd, aka Candyman, and bad guy in Indiana Jones and the Big Circle, which are the two things that I know him from. Oh, also, he was in a weird European remake of Frankenstein. So those are the things I know Tony Todd from. But he's a veritable horror icon. And I'm sure that his roles as Candyman and maybe Death and all of these Final Destination movies kind of cement him as that. But I guess it's never really explained if he is Death, but he definitely like works with Death, but he talks about Death in the third person. So it would be reasonable to assume that he is not Death, but also he could just be Death and he's like messing with people, trying to make other people think that he's not Death, which would be pretty awesome and scary and suspenseful and thrilling. All of the things that would make for a great horror flick, but it's not really scary. This whole movie is not scary at all because it's just the funniest thing ever. Like the whole time while I was watching it, I was thinking, I'm like, this is just like a live action cartoon, but if it took place in real life, where like people in cartoons are getting like bashed in the head with a baseball bat, or they get their like tails cut off by a giant guillotine, and then it's just fine. This Final Destination movies are like that, but if you got your tail chopped off in a cartoon, then you get your tail chopped off in real life, which is basically the scariest idea that I've ever heard. So it makes sense why they made 6 of these things.
7 now.
Well, no, I got it wrong. The new one is the 6th one.
Oh.
Yeah, I got it twisted. That's my bad. I just looked it up. I want to formally apologize to everybody listening to the
My
podcast.
apology video.
Yeah, I should not have gotten that wrong.
I'm taking an extensive break.
Yeah, I think the podcast needs to go on hiatus after that blunder. I'm out here spreading misinformation. In the same episode that I corrected it like 2 minutes later, but it's still an unforgivable.
Now I don't know what to think.
Exactly. Okay, everybody, there's 6, including the new one. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Final Destination Bloodlines. Yeah. Which I thought it would be kind of fun. Like as I was watching it, like I should just watch all of them and then I'll go see the new one. But then I decided I don't really want to do that. And also the new one's probably not going to be in theaters that long. So, sorry. If I thought about this a month ago, then maybe it would have been fun. But also, we're doing a movie draft, a summer movie draft, and Final Destination is one of your movies that you won. So I am making it a hard rule that I'm not going to watch any movies that someone else
Don't want to
won.
help the competition.
Exactly.
I've succeeded so far. I haven't watched a single movie that has been on anybody's list.
I think me too. Because, yeah, it started in like late May, and I haven't seen anything in the last 3 weeks. No, we didn't do Sinners. Sinners was before.
No.
Yeah, then I guess I haven't seen anything. I am going to see The Phoenician Scheme.
Yeah,
and that one's not
too.
mine.
So it's mine, actually. So I'm incentivized to see it.
My competitive spirit just really it's like, you can't watch that movie. What if you win by $20? And then I'll be so embarrassed.
I think I'm gonna get like third, so
I think I'm going to get last.
I think
do
we're
not think
fighting
you
for
would.
the last spot.
Yeah. I am in third right now. But that's because I got
Beaten.
Mission Impossible,
Hmm.
and people love that cruise man.
That's true.
Yeah.
Scientology.
Exactly, yeah. My main man, Cruz, helping me fight back
Ted.
against Xenu. Ted Cruz? Oh,
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. I forgot
Forgot
about
about
that
him,
guy.
didn't you?
Yeah. Is he still a senator?
I have no idea.
Ted Cruz?
I feel like he probably still is.
I doubt it. I think he was shamed out of Texas for that whole going to Mexico in a blizzard stint. Am I right?
No one survives that.
Exactly. No, he's still a junior United States senator from Texas.
Oh, he's a junior.
He is a junior. I don't know who the senior is.
How cute.
Okay,
Tom Cruise.
maybe. Um, I think Ted Cruz's worst offense is that his name is Raphael and he goes by Ted.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst thing that he's ever done. It's the
Mhm.
worst choice he's ever made. Is that fair to say?
Um,
I don't think it is.
I do enjoy that a man I hate is not using his Italian name, so I'll take it.
Yeah, what the hell? He's like, my own name sounds too ethnic. I have to go by
Yeah.
Ted. It's just like, come on, Ted.
Horrible person.
Yeah, Ted should have just been like a chill liberal guy, and then he could be like Raphael Cruz. Honestly,
Exactly.
Raphael Cruz sounds like if you put every single liberal in a blender. That'd be the name of the mess.
He's
that
gonna go
came
on
out.
hiatus and then he's gonna come back reborn.
Yeah.
Like I had a life changing experience in freaking Baja, Mexico.
Yeah. He's gonna come back and he's gonna have cornrows.
Yeah. He's fresh off an ayahuasca trip.
Yeah. He's gonna be wearing Birkenstocks,
Mhm.
cargo shorts. It's gonna be really nice. And then he'll do a press conference and he'll be like, I realized that the last 15 years of my life I've been doing evil upon the world and spreading hateful ideas. And now I need to atone for that. And I'm going to be a warrior of justice.
I am now henceforth known as Raphael Cruz.
You can call me Raphael Cruz. And then he runs for president and wins. That's what's cool about that story.
So they don't tell you.
Yeah. Well, not yet, but he will.
First Italian
president. It's him and is he real? Have we not had an Italian president?
I don't think so.
What the hell? This is discrimination.
It is.
I'm gonna search Italian president. Wait, I just realized that's going to come up with the Italian.
Whatever the fascist lady is.
Yeah, Italian U.S. president. Why have there been no Italian American presidents? This is
It's discrimination.
Question. That's why we should have went with Rudy Giuliani. I think he would have been a better pick than what they got down there right now. Am I right?
The Italians do not have good representation.
No.
It's not looking good.
No. Him and I guess Fauci. He's Italian, probably.
Yeah, probably.
And then are the Cuomo's Italian?
Oh yeah,
They're Italian.
Honestly, I'd change my Italian name too. There's too much weirdness going on over there.
Yeah. Honestly, if your name ends with a vowel, you should probably just change it.
Yeah.
Things aren't looking good.
I got my dad's side, not my mom's side.
Uh-oh. I don't care if you're like Indian. Like, as long as it ends in a vowel, they're gonna come for you. You gotta be careful. You're gonna turn into a bigot.
It's happening.
It's happening. David Duke. Last name ends in a vowel.
That's true.
That's all I have to say. It's probably
Case closed.
Italian. I guess I don't know enough about the man. Um, I don't. David Duke. Okay, yeah. I don't know why I'm looking this up. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know if this really matters.
You don't have a
Oh,
lot of content. You're just making up time.
I guess so. I don't really have a lot. That was pretty much it. I don't know if I have a lot more to say about Final Destination. It's basically just a funny movie where you watch people get their heads chopped off. And it's pretty fun. So, he appears to be Dutch.
Hmm.
His mother was an alcoholic, and his father permanently left the family in 1966 for Laos.
That's fun. Laos. Wow.
Yeah.
In the 60s, too. Wow.
Yeah. Taking a job with the United States Agency for International Development.
Oh, that's not good.
Really?
That's not good.
You're telling me that the guy who raised David Duke wasn't a stand-up citizen?
Well, I mean, I was, sometimes the parents are bad, but that's like really bad.
Yeah. If you think that's bad, let me tell you about David Duke. You won't believe the kind of trouble that he got up to. Yeah, so I guess, do we add Dutch to the list? Is it Italians and Dutch that we should be worried
I
about?
don't want to be categorized with Dutch.
Come on.
I don't want to stand next to them.
Come on. If we're going to fight racism, we have to learn to be xenophobic. It's the only way.
I'm xenophobic against the Dutch.
And the Italians, they seem to be troubled.
I'm self-hating. I denounce my Italian heritage.
And I renounce my Dutch heritage. So,
Okay, good. Glad we came to a consensus here.
yeah. So neither of us are
You have a
bigots.
good conversation. Mm.
Yeah. And we won't turn into bigots when we get old.
Correct.
Probably.
If I do, shoot me.
Exactly right.
This is not a joke.
Yeah. If I turn into Eric Clapton, I give you permission to blast my head off with a
Yes,
shotgun.
please.
That's my demand, actually. And I don't care if I weep or cry or beg for my life.
What I want.
It's what I want. And if I do cry and weep, then you pull out this podcast episode and you say, listen to yourself. You have become a twisted fragment of what you once were. And I will now put you out of your misery.
It's a pretty hard line.
Yeah. So just come on. Just if you could just do that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
David Duke formed a white student group called the White Youth Alliance that was affiliated with the National Socialist White People's Party
Oh no.
in 1970, which was
Oh, that's bad.
when he was 20 years old.
Oh.
He appeared at a demonstration in Nazi uniform carrying a sign
Yeah.
reading "Gas the Chicago 7."
Yep.
Okay. I should just close this Wikipedia page, I think. So that was my review of Final Destination. Pretty fun. A lot of funny, gory deaths. And the first one came out in like early 2000, so there's some good practical effects too. So I recommend it. But now I'm going to throw it on over to Babby for his segment of the show, Music.
Musica.
See.
A lot of musica.
We're
We're going to start with stupid stuff, and then we're going to get to all of the good music.
Okay.
By stupid stuff, I mean updating a segment I did a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
Since there's been developments and not great developments.
Uh-oh.
Yes, we're going to talk about Radiohead frontman Thom Yorke.
Oh, no.
Are you familiar?
I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
You told me this
Uh,
story a couple of weeks ago.
yes, I did. And then magically through the pipeline, he spoke a
Uh-oh.
statement, frankly,
Oh.
on the Instagrams, if you can believe it. Um, I will give some context to this if people are like, well, why do people care about this? I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but uh, people have been kind of nudging Radiohead, Thom Yorke specifically, to give a statement or even just speak up about the ongoing genocide in Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
because on multiple occasions he has been very off-putting towards it. I think he had a solo show last year where someone like tried to kind of not get a statement out of him, but just like did a free Palestine thing in the crowd, like everybody does at concerts nowadays. And he's like, "No, do not do that right now. Do you want to come up here and say what you want to say?" And then he walked up the stage and just ended the show,
Wow.
which was a little over dramatic in
It
my
seems
opinion.
dramatic.
Yeah. But before that, there have been other times where people have waved Palestinian flags, probably late 2010s, like 2019 area, that they have like tried to wave down and make sure like they're not waving that kind of stuff. And they perform in Israel a ton.
Hmm.
They blew up in Israel because of Pablo Honey,
Oh.
big seller in Israel. So, which makes sense because that album
Israel
sucked.
knows all about blowing up.
They really do. Um, yeah, so they have gotten reached out to from BDS multiple times, and they have refused to kind of entertain their asks or demands. Their demands were, hey, can you not perform in Israel during this time, or just in general? Here's why we can educate you on this. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So this warrants a little bit more of a. People are like more interested in it. This isn't just like a we need to hear this random figure's opinion on it. There's been more of a actual reason, since there is a big history between the two entities, that being Thom Yorke and the state of Israel. um, so he put out this 8-page Instagram story.
Oh no.
We're gonna go through it. I'm just gonna do a really horrible British accent until it gets too serious, and then I'm
Oh
gonna drop
God.
it.
Okay.
So, okay, let's go. Some guy shouting at me from the dock last year when I was picking up a guitar to sing the final song alone in front of 9,000 people in Melbourne didn't really seem like the best moment to discuss the unfolding humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. I'm going to drop it. I can't do a British accent. Um, Afterwards, I remained in shock that my supposed silence was somehow being taken as complicity, and I struggled to find an adequate way to respond to this and carry on with the rest of the shows on the tour. That silence, my attempt to show respect for all those who are suffering and those who have died, and not to trivialize it in a few words, has allowed other opportunistic groups to use intimidation and defamation to fill in the blanks, and I regret having given them this chance. This has had a heavy toll on my mental health. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so far. The mental health card is a little interesting.
Yes.
Okay, we're self-centering already. Good. I would hope that for anyone who has ever listened to a note of the music of my band or any of the music I have created over the years, or looked at the art or read any of the lyrics, it would be self-evident that I could not possibly support any form of extremism or dehumanization of others. All I see in a lifetime's worth of work with my fellow musicians and artists is a pushing against such things, trying to create work that goes beyond what it means to be controlled, coerced, threatened, to suffer, to be intimidated, and instead to encourage critical thinking beyond borders, the commonality of love and experience, and free creative expression. Sounds naff, but true. I don't know what naff means.
I don't know.
Okay, this is fine so far.
Yeah, this sounds okay.
This sounds okay. Let's continue. For others, let me fill in the blanks now so we're nice and clear. I think Netanyahu and his crew of extremists are totally out of control and need to be stopped, and that the international community should put all the pressure it can on them to cease. Their excuse of self-defense has long since worn thin and has been replaced by a transparent desire to take control of Gaza and the West Bank permanently. Okay, you should say the state of Israel and not Netanyahu. I'm gonna do a little hit there. That's this isn't necessarily bad so far, but it all kind of falls apart. I believe this ultranationalist administration has hidden itself behind a terrified and grieving people and used them to deflect any criticism, using that fear and grief to further their nationalist agenda with horrible consequences, as we see now with this horrific block of aid into Gaza. That is true. Okay, we're fine so far. You're good. I think overall there has been kind of a tide shift in some media spaces, specifically like the Piers Morgans of the world, where they have been calling it a genocide now because of this like mass starvation campaign that has been happening, because it is almost impossible to spin that in a way that they can make themselves see like that it is not a genocide or an absolute catastrophe. So there is a little bit of a tide shift coming. So I think it is interesting that Thom Yorke is finally saying something now, because I think it is a little bit more acceptable to start doing so.
Well, I mean, that almost speaks to like it not being a good statement, because he should have said this like a while ago.
Correct.
But now that it's popular, now he's saying it.
Yes, and this next slide is where it all falls apart.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. While our lives tick along as normal, why can you not write? Okay, you're an amazing songwriter. What are you doing? While our lives tick along as normal, these endless thousands of innocent souls are still being expelled from the earth. For what? At the same time, the unquestioning free Palestine refrain that surround us all does not answer the simple question of why the hostages have still not been returned. For what possible reason? Okay. If you were going to talk about the hostages still 20 months into a genocide, you are just not reading or looking at anything related to it. And I'm sorry, you sound like a child in this that has not heard of this conflict. Since the first or second week of the genocide, Israel has constantly said that returning all the hostages would not end the war, they call it. And Hamas has repeatedly said that it will return all the hostages. There's been multiple back and forths on this. Israel shuts it down every single time. Why did Hamas choose the truly horrific acts of October 7th? The answer seems obvious, and I believe Hamas chooses to hide behind the suffering of its people in an equally cynical fashion for their own purposes. Okay, this is also where it just starts falling apart. October 7th was a horrific act. That is true. A lot of civilians were killed. I will bring up that there is a little thing called in the IDF called the Hannibal Directive. This says that any attack made on Israel and any attempt to take hostages into Gaza, Israelis or the IDF has an open fire. They intentionally try to kill anybody that will be taken hostage because they do not want a situation of that. If you see any images on October 7th, there are like a ton of exploded vehicles and cars and buildings around the Nova Festival. Hamas does not have all of that militarization. They flew over an apartheid wall in hang gliders and makeshift weaponry. So yes, it's in a horrible tragedy. That was one day. There were civilian casualties. A lot of them were killed by their own army. Others were taken hostage and released later on, or succumbed to bombing campaigns that Israel did on their own population in Gaza because they don't really care about the hostages. Again, this would be an okay statement if you said this on October 8th. This is 20 months after the fact. To the point of the unquestioning free Palestine refrain, I don't understand what you're trying to do with that. Like, I think a population that has been under occupation for 77 years, and a population specifically that has been in an open air prison since 2005, which is what Gaza is, with a 2 million population, a lot of them are refugees from other areas of occupied Palestine. I think free Palestine is not an extreme thing to say in that situation.
No.
I don't know what your issue is with that, Thom. Okay, let's go. I also think there is a further and extremely important point to make. Social media witch hunts, nothing new, on either side pressurizing artists and whoever they feel like that week to make statements, etc., do very little except heighten the tension, fear, and oversimplification of what are complex problems that merit proper face-to-face debate by people who genuinely wish the killing to stop and an understanding to be found. Okay, now you turn it into a social media witch hunt. This is not a social media witch hunt. You directly support the state of Israel by doing headlining shows over and over and over and over again in the country that would be very similar to performing in apartheid South Africa. Arguably worse. It's not a witch hunt that your fans kind of expect this from you, because if you've listened to OK Computer or any other Radiohead album, the lyrics are overtly political in a lot of spots. They always have an actual statement to say. And again, you are the frontman of one of the most influential and popular rock bands in the world. You are not just a random Joe off the street, especially given your career of activism when it came to like the invasion of Iraq, all those kind of things. People come to expect these things from you. So your silence here is very strange. At the same time, we do know that Roger Waters has been trying to contact Thom Yorke for years to talk with him about this in a face-to-face debate, which he purposely calls out here. But Roger Waters has been left on red or have gotten really snide remarks from him. So he is not even really willing to engage with anybody on this issue, despite him saying that that's what we should be doing instead of social media witch hunts. So I don't really see what you're doing there. If you want an example of a real witch hunt over social media and outside of it, we can look at Miss Rachel, a popular children's YouTuber who is getting smeared as an anti-Semitic agent because she posts clearly like sympathy for the children of Gaza, and has posted about Palestine a ton. She helped a refugee from the Gaza Strip come over to the U.S., and she's a double amputee at age 5, I believe, and has been posting videos with her and helps her and her mother kind of deal with the ongoing life of kind of getting her back on her feet. The video is just, I can't not watch that video. You can find it online. It's a really touching video of the double amputee kind of like playing with Miss Rachel. But she gets smeared left and right by organizations like the ADL and all these different things that are trying to label her as anti-Semitic and get her deplatformed. That's a real witch hunt. The default position is that if you support Israel, there is not really anything that will happen to you in forms of deplatforming. It is the main Western position still. It is changing slowly, but at this point, it is still the main position. Supporting Palestine, especially being very vocal about it, like Miss Rachel is being, will get you in a lot of hot water. So it is actually not the like easy bandwagon thing to hop on. People have been doxxed on college campuses. Their degrees have been taken away. All these different things. But Thom needs to make it about himself in a witch hunt, which is just really fun and cool. From here, what does he do here? This kind of deliberate polarization does not serve our fellow human beings and perpetuates a constant us versus them mentality. It destroys hope and maintains a sense of isolation, the very things that extremists use to maintain their position. We facilitate their hiding in plain sight if we assume that the extremists and the people they claim to represent indivisible. If our world is ever able to move on from these dark times and find peace, it will only be when we rediscover what we share in common and the extremists are sent back to sit in the darkness from whence they came. Here is an attempt to both sides a genocide. There are extremists on both sides. Okay, if we're taking this is not my opinion on it, but if we're taking a very flatline thing, then yes, Hamas can be an extremist group, the Netanyahu government can be an extremist group. One side of that extremist group is getting all of the aid from all Western countries, a blank check essentially, getting sent bombs, weaponry aid, whatever, to do an assault on a population that is 50% children in an area that is complete rubble, that is the size of Philadelphia, who does not have food or aid, who does not allow journalists in, who set up aid traps that make people walk 15 kilometers in the desert just for them to be filed into pig pens to get tiny rations of food, versus the side that is all children and there's nothing they can really do about it but just kind of sit there and try to like stay alive of whatever nutrients they can find. That's not a both sides issue. It's a 77-year occupation of a people that has been through one of the worst colonization things that has ever happened in recent history. You cannot both sides this thing. It's not a Democrat versus Republican issue. but apparently to Thom, that's kind of what it is. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Man, he just gets worse as it goes on.
How long?
Nobody
I
proofread this
guess
either.
you said it's 8 pages.
It's very sloppy.
Oh.
Okay. I sympathize completely with the desire to do something, but when we are witnessing such horrific suffering on devices each day, it completely makes sense. But now I think it is a dangerous illusion to believe reposting one or two line messages are meaningful, especially if it is to condemn your fellow human beings. There are unintended consequences. Um, man, this is a horrible statement.
I mean,
Okay,
okay, like part of me is like kind of gets what he's saying. Like
I do.
I know like the what he's like actually implying is that like the Palestinian protesters posting headlines is dangerous to whatever. But like there is a real conversation to be made about like people on Instagram just like posting videos and headlines without like actually reading anything and thinking that that
Correct.
actually helps because that doesn't do anything.
Yes, but I think coming from you are Thom Yorke, again, one of the most influential people of this century in the music sphere, you have a ton of influence. If you
Oh
post
yeah.
something or at least have something to say, that sticks with people and that helps open doors. I
Yeah.
think music can do a lot in terms of that. So again, you are not an average Joe off the street. You are one of the biggest figures in modern music. Um, at the same time, when it comes to the Palestine issue, I think there's a lot more that average people can do in just posting articles and things like this. There's been a lot of great educational things that come across a lot of people's feeds. It's less like, typical liberal kind of Black Lives Matter area where black squares and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I think it is a lot more helpful now, especially since it is so against the grain. Any just visibility on things is a lot more helpful. You would like it
That's
to,
true.
you would like to think. It's been 20 months and the tide shift is slowly but surely coming. I mean, I was talking about this like when it just happened, and that was very, very against the grain at the point. That's kind of coming back to the center a little bit, which is great. It's just taking a long time. Um, okay. How does he end this thing? Okay. What is the alternative? I can't answer that easily. I do know in communities around the subject is now dangerously toxic and we are in uncharted waters, so we need to turn back. I am sure that to this point, what I have written here will no way satisfy those who choose to target myself or those I work with. They will spend time picking holes and looking for reasons to continue. We are in an opportunity not to be missed, no doubt, and by either side. I have written this in the simple hope that I can join with the many millions of others praying for the suffering, isolation, and death to stop, praying that we can collectively regain our humanity and dignity and our ability to reach understanding that one day soon this darkness will have passed. Great. Okay, and then he pretty much just shows no growth or message at the end. Really, it's just kind of like, can we all get along?
Didn't I? We just said that.
I know that's why it's funny because I was like, oh, I'm going to use that line. Um, again, we cannot really all get along with one population bombing an entire tent city that has to move constantly. That is half children. Yeah, this isn't really a both sides issue, and it cannot be. Yeah, this is a really bad statement. If you don't know anything about this issue somehow and you've been living under a rock and you read this statement, you might think it's okay because it kind of like straddles the middle. He's sitting on the fence, basically. It's a
Yeah.
centrist take. I think his attempt at this was to kind of appease what he thinks are people that are trying to do a witch hunt on him because he's not saying buzzwords like free Palestine, which is not my issue with him. And a lot of the Israeli fan base that will look at this, and if there are liberal Zionists like Thom is coming across here, they will be perfectly okay with this, where they will recognize that there is, you know, Gazans being bombed and Palestinians being bombed, and that shouldn't happen. But they will not go a step further and criticize their actual government or their actual effort in living in the state of Israel. It's the same as Americans with Native Americans. You get to a point where it's like, do you really believe in land back, or are you just saying that to appease someone? Are these
Yeah.
land acknowledgements real, or are you just saying that because you can act like you're kind of this progressive person, but if push comes to shove, you're going to side with the U.S. government? It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So completely middle of the road. Horrible statement, in my opinion. This doesn't really do anything. You opened your mouth, but it didn't really do anything for me. And it comes across very liberal Zionist. Like I've heard all of these things over and over again by Israeli talking points for the past 20 months, and it is infuriating. Yeah, I don't know where I sit with this right now. We have an entire Radiohead collection. We were talking about, do we get rid of this or not? I don't know how I move on from this. Yeah, this is maybe the worst humanitarian catastrophe of the 21st century, and will be the plague that kind of haunts us our entire lives at this point, because once this finally does stop and journalists get let in and all of this happens, everybody will have been against this, when in reality nobody had the balls to kind of speak up as this was going on.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen in the media. People like Piers Morgan are trying to act like they've been staunch Palestinian advocates, but they're really just trying to get on the right side of history again. But I don't know. This stuff is in my brain constantly all day. It's excruciating. I see images of dead children all over the place, and it's not like I go journalists and stuff like that. It happens. And he's saying it takes a toll on his mental health. Just picture anybody. Like, these children are going through things that like no child should ever have to go through, ever. And yeah, I'm remembering all the people who side on the wrong side with this issue, and I don't think I can ever really recover from Thom Yorke at this point. I expected this from him, which is unfortunate. But yeah, this is just awful. So good job, Thom.
Thank you, Thom.
Thank you, Thom. Okay, let's talk about music.
Okay.
That sounds fun.
That sounds
I just
like
wanted
a
to get
good
that out of
time.
the way first, because I'm like, let's get to the fun stuff now.
Yeah.
Stuff coming out this week. We got actually 3 big ones. Lil Wayne, The Carter 6 comes out tonight.
Okay.
Time of recording. I don't know if I'm going to listen to it or not. The Carter albums are pretty bloated. There's usually some good stuff in there, but I mean, it's not going to be like a Carter 3 or anything. We don't know track list or features or anything. I'm assuming there will be a Young Thug one. I'm assuming there'll be a Drake feature. I'm assuming there'll be a Future feature. Yeah. So we'll see. It's at the bottom of my list for this week if I do, but it is coming. Next we got new Lil Sims album, Lotus, that comes out.
Yeah.
Very excited for this. We'll be doing this on the channel because it's Lil Sims.
Yeah.
I haven't really listened to any of the singles besides the first one, Flood, which is good.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been intentionally avoiding it.
Yeah. Same here. I'm very excited to listen to it next week.
Real, which you'll probably see in 3 weeks. This is all kind of messed up.
Whoops.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see her first album without Inflow being the main producer. I'm interested to see how the sound kind of changes, because I know those two worked together very closely for a long time before their legal dispute thingy popped up. So, yeah, we'll see. Okay. And then McKinley Dixon, Magic Alive, that comes out tomorrow as well. I believe this is his. Okay, Beloved Paradise Jazz was also an album. I think they're all just short. Yeah, they are. 30-minute album, man. That works for me. But very excited. This will be my first McKinley Dixon. I think originally we were going to maybe do this on the channel. We still might. We'll see. I'm kind of drowning in music at the moment, so if I am behind on a couple of weeks, we can always pick them up on the channel later.
That's true.
But yeah, very excited for this. The couple of songs I've heard from him are fantastic. Okay. Singles and subsequent album info for 3 of these. All big ones. We'll start with Big Thief. New album's coming.
Oh.
Out of nowhere. It's called Double Infinity. Comes out September 5th. Cover's pretty sick. We got our first single, Incomprehensible. And it is fantastic. It is what you'd expect from Big Thief song, but there's this kind of like psychedelic angle to it, which is really cool. Yeah, I am really excited for this album. It's weird. I think the Adrian Lenker live album was kind of a teaser of where Big Thief was going, because that album has that same ambient psychedelic nature to it in a lot of parts. But I'm very excited for this. It's a very different track list than Dragon Noir Mountain, I Believe in You.
Yeah.
it's only 9 songs instead of whatever that album has, like 20. So yeah, I am very excited. I think this will be a great one. We'll probably most definitely do this on the channel.
Yeah.
We'll wrangle Bab Jab and see if we can do a 3-person one for that one. But I don't know. This could have a strong chance of being a very, very good album. So, I mean, Adrienne has not let me down since we've kind of discovered her. But we got to go back and do a lot of Big Thief stuff.
Yeah.
I've only listened to one album. With the live album, I've heard a lot of like other songs that they have, but like we needed to go back and do a lot of them. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
very excited for that.
I don't even know if I've listened to all of. No, I have to have listened to all of Dragon New Warm Mountain.
Like you would have had. Yeah. It is an hour and 20. It's a long album.
Yeah, I feel like I have, but I don't know. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
But I know, like,
I don't know.
Masterpiece, I see that all the time.
Yep. I think that was one of our first requests, actually, too.
Oh, okay.
Just never got to it because that's how we roll.
Whoops.
Yeah. But I don't know. Her live album this year is, I think, a perfect encapsulation of everything that she's had. And I think it's the best thing she's put out. So that one's 43 tracks in 2 hours. So if you want the full experience, just do that, I guess. Because it is phenomenal. All right. Next, Clips is back. New single, Ace Trumpets. First single off the new album, Let God Sort 'Em Out, which is out July 11th. And it is great. It is super fun. Pharrell's on production. It's a really great sounding production. The drums are very dry. It has this kind of mimicking Pusha T's last album in terms of the production style. It has that almost dry kind of sound to it, which makes sense. Pharrell was on there as well. But they go back and forth really well. I think the rhyme schemes they kind of set up are it's deceptively simple. But I will say that the first line on the first new Clips album that we're hearing is Pusha T says, "Yellow diamonds look like PP," which is phenomenal.
Oh, God.
And then he takes that scheme for the entire verse, but inlays a lot of cool little rhymes, internal rhymes within that. People were like making double, triple, quadruple that line funny because it's not really a stretch actually,
No.
which is the stupidest thing. They were like Patek, whatever that watch is, yellow watch. It's just really funny. I mean, it's Pusha T. I could see it.
Yeah.
There has been some drama around the, I guess, news. I think we're confirmed that there is a Kendrick.
Oh.
So he will be on it. There was a thing that was like, I think Drake tried to pay UMG to keep Kendrick off of the Clips album because he did not want Pusha T and Kendrick on a song.
Oh.
So Clips collectively got out of their deal with UMG and then shopped the album around and then went to Rock Nation. So that's the label it's under.
Damn.
Which is crazy. So they spent like 7 figures getting out of that UMG deal so they could put it on Rock Nation so they can have their track list unimpeded by legal stuff that he's trying to do.
That's crazy.
Which is great. I mean, that's a flex. So, yeah, I am very, very excited for this. I still don't like the cover that much, but what are you gonna do? Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I do think No Malice actually has the better verse on this song too. I mean, Bush is pretty great on it, but the entendres that No Malice the song, fantastic. So very excited, very fun. All right, next, Ethel Cain. First single off of the new album that comes out in August. This one's called Nettles. It is like 8 minutes long in typical Ethel Cain fashion.
Yeah.
Very different from Perverts, which should be expected. It's more in the Preacher's Daughter area, which I'm okay with. I like both styles of her. I did gravitate towards that more ambient, scary sounding thing, but the single's beautiful. It has like this kind of Americana alt country lens to it, mixing with the more kind of slowcore stuff that she does. Her vocals sound phenomenal here too. Like if Preacher's Daughter had a pretty good range in her vocals, but she's hitting some They're just really, really, really fantastic. So great stuff there as well. What do we got next?
I don't know.
Okay, albums this week. There was two I didn't get to because I really enjoyed all the other ones I got to, so I kind of just stopped. Caroline 2 came out. People are digging it.
Nice.
That might be another one we might just do on the channel. I feel like we got to stick it out for Caroline,
Yeah.
our lowest viewed video, or one of them.
I don't even remember what it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't either.
Oh,
But it seems like people are enjoying this one more. So,
okay.
which is what I'd expect. The first one I think was just too ambient. There was too many like parts of it that weren't actually music. It was just kind of sound collage.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully this one kind of fixes that. But we will get to that eventually. Not like top of my list, but I think it might be fun for the channel.
Okay.
And then the Rome Streets had a collab album with Conductor Williams, Train Spotting. Did not listen to this one yet either, but I will probably get to this eventually. He's kind of falling into my Boldy James pocket where I need to like go through all of those 1 week because I've missed like 3 Boldy albums and then this one. Because you're too quick. Slow down, please. But he got a feature from Method Man on here, so that's cool.
Oh.
Don't know how he pulled that, but cool. All right. Albums that I listened to. We will start with ASAP Rock, Black Hole Soubrette.
Oh, yeah.
New album, hour 8 minutes. Yeah, this thing's really good. It's better than his last album in 2023, In Solution. Both of these are kind of concept albums, but like very loose on the word concept. That one was more of a kind of digital cyberspace-esque album that kind of tackled a lot of that kind of stuff, which is cool. I didn't find it to be the most replayable. That are really good, but a couple fell to the middle for me, so I wasn't too hot on it in certain areas. This one is a lot more consistent. It actually ends better than it starts. But I guess the concept is he's taking a lot of these mundane things in life and just like writing about them in a really fun way. Like there's a song about how he got a whole bunch of fish in an aquarium and then like a snail popped up in there and they didn't know how the snail got in. Oh, a snail can like ride on a fish and like kind of sneak its way into his tank. And then they find out that the snail's an invasive species. So now there's like a dozen of them in there. I got to tank away now. It's stupid stuff like that.
What?
He writes in a really fun way that's just engaging and fun to listen to. Such an interest in that way. Yeah, it kind of takes the Billy Woods Maps approach of like, here's some very mundane things about life in a well-written, interesting way. But speaking of that, the Arm & Hammer feature on 1010 Wins is fantastic. I think the beat on that track is great. All three of them stick to the concept very, very well. So Be It with Open Mike Eagle right after that is fantastic. The production on there is a lot more like spacey and a lot more melodic, which is great. A$AP Rock does all the production on this album as well, so that extra layer is just really great. Lupe kills his verse on Charlie Horse. That song is fantastic as well. Yeah, A$AP is just, he's really, really great. And I think his word choice is insane. Like I think there's like rap accounts that do statistics on like word use and everything. A$AP Rock is number one in like unique word use like all the time. Like he's never repeating himself. He's always just finding new vocabulary to put things, which is just really, really fun. Yeah, so it's a pretty good listen. It's definitely a bit long. I think you could probably cut a couple of tracks, but honestly, that might be like tracks 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. Actually, you can probably keep the rest of the album, and I think it's pretty solid. But yeah, this is a really good one. It's just really fun and cool to listen to. I think the beats keep it interesting. It always surprises me how his delivery and stuff does not get draining by the time you're at the end of the album because he is very forward in a lot of his tracks, and there's not like the most melody in the world in a couple of these, but it keeps its pace quite well. So very good. I still need to get into a lot of his back catalog because I have not reached the hits yet. But the first or the most recent ones I've listened to have been pretty good. So I will probably go all the way back to Labor Days 2001 eventually. He's been at this for a while. So that one's got Blockhead and Omega on production. But Yeah, very, very, very good. Shout out to Aesop Rock,
Yeah.
not Aesop Rocky, which I think he has an announcement coming soon too. So,
We hate ASAP Rocky.
boo!
Yeah.
You weren't even the best part of the Need for Speed Unbound game
Yeah.
that you were in for some reason.
It's in a video
I like
game?
ASAP Rocky. He is
Oh.
heavily, yeah. Okay, I did a double feature on Friday, and it was a bad idea, but it was also so. uh, Sufjan, Carrie and Lowell, 10th anniversary
What did you
edition.
do?
I did something stupid.
You did Crow
Yeah.
Look at Me in that, didn't you?
No.
Okay.
I'm not that stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a perfect deluxe to a perfect album, I would say.
Yeah.
I think I can call this the definitive Carrie and Lowell now. I think I'll take this track list out of any of the versions and stuff. Maybe minus like a couple of songs from the live album, but I think the section here is the definitive Carrie and Lowell. If you have not heard the version, not any of the other ones. Yeah, so I don't know. We don't need to talk about the main album. I guess we can the disc 2, which has all the demos and stuff. These are some clean demos.
Yeah.
They sound really good. I think some people are off put from Carrie and Lowell because it is still produced. Like it's still very musically complex in certain areas. I do like the demos because they are so stripped back. I think these songs work really well in that stripped back context. And I'm surprised we haven't gotten that from any of the Carrie and Lowell versions. The live album does the opposite, makes it more grand, which is great. But I love just the very bare bones recording of a lot of these. Yeah, Death with Dignity is great in the demo version. Should Have Known Better was really nice because it was a more somber take on it, but there was still those like little kind of major scales at the end on the. I don't know if they were still doing the like synthesizer or if it was something else. It's like a keyboard almost. It was gentle. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Eugene demo almost sounds the same as Eugene regular, which is really funny.
Yeah. Well, because that
It's
song is so stripped back.
exactly. But I love the disappearing of any vocal effect. Like it's very raw and intimate, which is great for these. The only thing demo is just crushing. I love that one.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
It's so good. But yeah, those are the ones off of the main album that are demos that we get. We also get a Mystery of Love demo, which is great.
Very nice.
Yes, good one to put on here. I think just the collection of things he put on here too is very smart. Wallawa Lake Monster version 2 is phenomenal.
That song should have been on the album.
It should have been. I know it's on the Mystery Gift or whatever it is, but it should be on the main album. It is so amazing. And again, we were talking about his composer credibilities when we were doing he is so good at it. So yeah, this is a new favorite Sufjan song for me. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then we get the 4th of July version 4, the 14-minute extended outro thingy.
Yeah.
I think this is the best version of the song too. Like this was incredible, moving, transcendent, all of the words you can do for this. It's one of the best songs I've ever heard. It's phenomenal. I think the kind of demo-ish like vocal tone at the beginning is cool. But like the way it just opens up and I think in terms of his compositions when it comes to his long tracks, I think this might be the best thing he's done besides Shit Talk. I think those two are the best compositionally. But the strings and the tension and just all of that and this is just, it's phenomenal. I was just like, wow. I don't know. I fell in love with the same song throughout all the versions of these years, but this one I think is like the best one. I don't know how you kept this shelved for 10 years, honestly. Like that ending is just incredible. So yeah. It's a perfect deluxe to a perfect album. It's one of my favorites ever. And I think this is just a great addition to it. It doesn't take away anything. It just adds, which is great.
Yeah.
Definitely want to get this on record because there's a whole book and all that with it. So probably pick that up. But yeah, great job. I think this is a fantastic I don't want to call it a deluxe. I guess it is just an. I prefer this kind of comparatively to like the Kendrick T-Pab anniversary. There wasn't really anything special for that.
Yeah.
I would have liked like some demos or alternate versions instead of just the different vinyl packaging. I feel like he could have done more there, but oh well.
It's fine.
It's fine. But yeah, phenomenal. It blew me away again, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
dozens of times, and it's just still incredible. So yeah,
Some
shout out Sufjan.
Shout out Sufjan. I was going to ask, have you heard The Greatest Gift?
I've heard. Let me go to it real quick. I've heard like half of it,
Okay.
because some of them are like remixes, and I wasn't really looking for remixes.
Mm,
I think I've heard most of like the original songs on there, but it's been a while since I've.
gotcha. Because I listened to it before the new demos came out.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, like all the remixes on there are really great too. I think it's funny that the second track on that album is a Sufjan Stevens remix.
Yeah, that is.
I would assume that all of these, or even the one that's on the album, is the Sufjan
Yeah.
Stevens remix. Because he produced and wrote and everything. Yeah, so
Mhm.
I don't know what that means, but all the other stuff on here is really good too. I want to shout out John, My Beloved iPhone demo is really good.
Ooh.
So if you want to get really sad, then do that one. But yeah, I don't know, because I listened to Wallowa Lake Monster because I saw it was going to
Mhm.
be on the new one. And I'm like, I should just listen to the whole thing. And the whole thing's pretty good. So now we have like two kind of demo remix albums.
There's a lot. You got the
Plus,
live album in there too, plus the 4th of July edition.
yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
which I need to re-listen to those because I remember really liking them.
Yeah, I got them on record and I like barely play them.
Oh.
Yeah, that I think it just shows how strong of an album this is when all of the versions that come, like they're all just really really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just shows how good this thing is. I think it's his best album.
Well,
Yeah, and in a catalog of fantastic albums, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what I'd put next, but
Probably Illinois.
I think I have Illinois and Javelin Tide.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Yeah, it's all hits from him though.
Yeah. We do need to listen to Run Rabbit Run.
That's the one we need.
Has a great
We'll probably
cover.
do Michigan next.
Yeah. I really want to do Michigan. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited for that. That's got freaking Redford on it, which is the opener to the Carry On Little live album,
Yeah.
which is amazing. So, yeah,
I don't know if I've ever heard the studio version.
I don't think I have either. So I'm interested to see where that came from. But it's an hour long too. Man,
Don't miss.
crazy. Don't miss. But yeah, that'll be coming eventually. There's always a Sufjan.
On
There's
the
gotta be.
wheel. Yeah, we got to keep
Yeah.
one.
Exactly.
I usually just keep one on the wheel.
All right. That was the first of my double feature
Oh,
Friday. This album came out and I forgot it was a thing actually. Alan Sparhawk and Trampled by Turtles, which is just titled Alan Sparhawk with Trampled by Turtles. I saw this was coming out eventually. I completely forgot about it and I just saw it on the homepage on Friday and this came out. So I've seen Alan Sparhawk open in 2 separate concerts. The first one I was very like, this is weird because he was doing his electronic stuff, opening for Godspeed. It was strange. And then I saw him open like a couple months ago. And I think he was with Trampled by Turtles. That was the band that was with him there.
Oh.
And that opener was maybe the best opening set I've ever seen. He was doing the electronic stuff and he was doing this new material, which I didn't know was new material at the time. I thought those songs because I don't really have a gauge for Alan's music yet. So I thought they were just old songs that he was playing, but these were new ones. So now they're in studio format. And they're amazing. I was kind of blown away by this album when I first listened to it. And yeah, I think I've connected with Alan a lot in that Mount Erie opener. And I think that carries over to this album. So his wife passed away in 2022. She was the other front person. So they were married and they were bandmates. So she died to cancer, much like Bill's wife did. That those two having a set together or opening for each other, it was a magical kind of thing. White Roses, My God was his first one he released in September 2024, which is pretty recent. That was his weirdo, experimental, trippy kind of album that was very polarizing because it is so different than what Low does. Because they do slowcore stuff, which I have still not listened to a Low album. I will do that now for sure. I got the Alan magic in me. Now I got to go back and actually listen to the height of his career. But it's an okay album. I understood it the second time when he opened for Mount Erie. I think just the grief of having lost not only your wife but your bandmate that you've been playing with since the 90s, doing something that is so radically different and strange just to like kind of get that energy out. It makes a lot of sense. It doesn't work as well in an actual album format, but it works in a live setting well. So I did really like that. But this new batch is pretty much all of the songs that he was doing after that crazy set where he pulled out his guitar and did some more traditional kind of singer-songwriter stuff. So a lot of the stuff that I heard from that in the openers were phenomenal. But he paired up with Trampled by Turtles, which is a bluegrass band from Duluth, Minnesota.
Shout
So they're
out.
both from Duluth. Shout out Duluth. Saw them open with Alan as well. They were great. So this album has a kind of folk bluegrass undertone to it, which is not what I was expecting. But it is incredibly good. Alan has fantastic vocals here. A lot of these songs tackle grief in the more traditional sense of a Sufi on Mount Erie, where it is more folk-led songs. And they're just phenomenal. Like there's a couple of songs on here, I think Heaven and Get Still. They're remakes from White Roses, My God, and instead of being an electronic format, it is reformatted into this kind of bluegrass folk kind of thing, which is really, really, really great. So it's so good. It's 30 minutes long. It's really quick to get through, but it just like hit me like a truck. It's phenomenal. I think Too High is just an incredible highlight. Just his vocals are so good. There's moments where like the fiddle I think they have going just like starts kind of screaming and just rising over the entire songs. It's fantastic. Heaven is heartbreaking. I love it. Like there's a place in my heart for the live versions of these songs where they're even more stripped back, where it is just kind of him and a guitar. But adding this kind of like folky bluegrass element just brings a really nice warm sound to a lot of this, which is really great. Not Broken is fantastic as well. I think some of these songs were written by both him and his wife and were just not used. So he's reusing these now in an album format, but he's actually having his daughter play her parts, which is just crazy because her voice is fantastic too. And I don't know what Mimi's voice sounds like, obviously, because I haven't heard a Low album yet. But just having your daughter fill in for the part is it's crazy. It's so good. Screaming Song might be the biggest highlight here. This was the one in the live setting. You get done with all of the crazy electronics and like strobe lights and auto-tune vocals, and then the set completely shifts and he pulls out a guitar, and then this is the first song he plays, and it is just the most heartbreaking thing you've ever heard in your life. It's phenomenal. The way the fiddle kind of enters and just plays out that emotion in just these insane kind of wailing riffs that it has is just phenomenal. Yeah, it's a great album. It's I think going to be very, very, very underrated. So don't miss it. It's definitely one that's I think he's still trying to kind of build up his solo presence. Since Low is pretty out of their prime. I think it's one of these where kind of evolving to a new chapter with solo work. But Trampled by Turtles does a great job with him. It's such a cool dynamic, and the way this album kind of began too was just really great. Where I think Trampled by Turtles kind of invited Alan shortly after his wife died to just like join them on tour, just to sit to be around people, and then eventually Alan started like having these song ideas, and he would go out and perform with them, and kind of it's naturally formed into this body of work. And it's phenomenal. It's crushing, but not in a Carrie and Lowell kind of intensity. Like you can get through it for sure. There's a couple of moments where it really does kind of hit that low point. But it's phenomenal. It's a nice, cool 30 minutes. Yeah, check it out. Especially if you weren't the biggest fan of White Roses, my God, I think this will be a lot more people's speed, because that album is very polarizing for good reason. I think this album actually is as good as it is because of the existence of that last album. The contrast and two different ways of dealing with grief displayed across there is just great. So shout out Alan. He's made a real fan out of me, and I've only seen him open twice. So yeah, I just gotta do Low. I'll probably go back and start doing their catalog eventually here, because they are like one of the pioneers in slowcore, and I do love slowcore. So, and they're from Minnesota, so gotta get some locality in there. So
You're not from
very
here.
good. They're not from here.
We don't take to your kind around here.
Those are Duluth people.
Yeah. I don't even know where Duluth is. I think it's like way far
It's
north, isn't it?
Northeast of you?
That sounds correct.
Yeah.
I think it's, oh yeah, it's like all the way up there.
Yeah.
Shout out to Duluth.
Okay. Shout out Duluth. Shout out Alan. He's fantastic. I just wanted to give him a hug. But yeah, it's great. Okay. Speaking of older artists, Michael, Swans, Birthing.
Oh.
We had a Swans double feature. We did White Light on the channel. You can go watch that. Probably not now, because it'll probably be a couple weeks before it's out. But it will be coming. Sorry. We got a lot of stuff. This is Birthing. This is their last big sound album ever, since Michael is in his 70s and still making stuff like this, which again is just crazy. This is coming off of The Beggar from 2023. Great album. It's 2 hours, 7 tracks, and all these songs are pretty dang long. I saw them on tour last year, so 2024. That was during the kind of making of this album. So I was curious to see how much I recognized in here. And I didn't recognize a whole lot. There were bits and pieces that I recognized, but not nearly as much as I thought, having seen them. But I think that kind of shows how these songs evolve really quickly. It's a great album. I think we'll just dive into it. The Healers, the first track, fantastic. Yeah, the kind of birthing aspect of this album is, I think he's like, The Beggar plays with mortality in a way that's very unique, where it's the actual degradation of the body and mind that he focuses on. Birthing seems to be the spiritual experience of death and the possible birthing into a new existence after, which is a very Swans coded way to deal with mortality, which I really enjoy. With the whole dirt on the cover and that kind of thing, that seems where he's trying to get out of here. But The Healers is very great. It's definitely very floaty. There are some heavy parts to it, but it's a very floaty ride. There's some chants going on, a lot of great female backing vocals here, which are great. It is a long boy to open it, but I do really like it. There's a lot of very distinct sections. I do think I have criticisms with this album. It's a fantastic album. I have very minor things where it's like, it feels a little clunky in parts. Sometimes the buildups and sudden jarring shifts in pace aren't as rewarding as past Swans albums. It feels a little jumbled together at certain points, which some people might like. Some people might like that sudden shift of adrenaline that you get when it's a big sound Swans album. But there was a couple of awkward parts on here. The healers, for the most part, was really good. I think it just kind of ended in a very strange place where we get to this very hellish sounding swell of instrumentation at the end, and then it just kind of drops. Um, but I do love the energy of the song quite a bit. I'm a Tower was next. That was a single. I like it a lot more in the album context. I think it's very strong actually as a standout. Which when I first heard it, I was like, this was really good, but I don't know where to put it. Now it's kind of here, and I'm like, this is a standout for sure. Takes a lot of like Bowie influence, which is just really interesting when you put it in a 20-minute post rock song. Because the song starts very dystopian, and Michael's kind of got this very evil conductor chanting from the heavens down vocal inflection with these backing vocals, just kind of adding some really heavenly kind of atmosphere to it. You can definitely tell his age on this album a lot more than the beggar. Like his vocal is starting to kind of deteriorate, which is really interesting to hear. But the second half of the song just turns into this kind of Bowie tribute that is just really cool. With the constant build of it all is just really, really, really fun. And a weirdly optimistic kind of sounding, almost acceptable or like accessible way to end the song, which is interesting. Um, Title track is next, Birthing. This one, I think this was the last song they played for our live set. So we were 2.5 hours in. Everybody was tired. Everybody thought the concert was over, and Michael went into a last song that was about 20 minutes long. That was basically consistent of building a tension that was so thick that you were kind of just on the tip of your toes, and then he would just drop his hands, and they would go into just like the most punishing riff over and over and over and over again. I think that's what this song started as, because that sounds very similar to what we were kind of experiencing there. I think seeing the live show actually hurt the song for me because it does not reach the intensity of the moment when you do that live, because you cannot emulate the feeling of your stomach dropping because of the amount of noise hitting you physically. So it's not as powerful of a statement. And it's not like sonically pleasing as much as I would like it to be. But that's just because I have the experience of seeing him. I think you don't get that real life adrenaline in a studio recording. But it is great. We have baby sounds all over this thing because,
Baby
of course, we
sounds.
do. Yeah, we had it on white light as well because he just likes putting baby sounds everywhere. Um, he does say he's a mother multiple times on this album, which I think is funny.
Oh, is
So
he a drag queen?
he could be. Michael the Drag Queen would go over pretty well, I think. Maybe he's just sampling Megan Trainor. Who knows?
Oh, probably.
Maybe he's in his Megan Trainor bag.
I could see it.
Yeah, but the title track is really good still. Again, these are all very minor criticisms. It's just like after physically experiencing this song, the studio version will never live up to what I'm expecting it to feel like. But what comes after Red Yellow is phenomenal. This is weird and groovy, and it's got a phenomenal bass line, and he's doing this really creepy kind of chanting throughout the whole track, with some really cool backing vocals. It's like 7 minutes long, so it's very easy to get into. I think this was the Hanging Man from the tour, which was an old song on Leaving Meaning, and I think it got revised slash morphed with a song from The Glowing Man, which is The World is Red, The World Looks Black, which is one of my favorite Swan songs. It kind of combines those two into this weird chanting sacrifice of a song, which is just phenomenal. This is maybe my favorite on the record, besides the outro. It's just very unique and fun. Okay, here's where we get rocky. This is my like least favorite part of the album: Guardian Spirit and the Merge. I think I don't want to say he's losing it. I think this is the last kind of, all of us are so tired and we're putting it together version after version, night after night of touring. These songs are morphing so much. I feel like they morphed too much to a point where it gets a little clunky. Guardian Spirit is good. Um, it's very slow in the beginning, which is great. I like building the atmosphere, but then we immediately launch into just like insanity in terms of wailing guitars and just crushing drum and bass lines. Um, it works well, but the track starts to lose itself. It kind of goes off into this just like almost like musical rant, um, of just explosions constantly. And then I think there's a movement at the end Oh no, it's just sound all the way through and then just drops. And then the merge, which I don't know what he was on for this song. He did say there were hints for the next Swans sound in this album. Is it the merge? I don't know, because he marketed this as the last big sound album, and the merge is about as big as you can get. It is like electronics, like just everywhere. It is just like staggering, glitching electronics, very, very, very loud, which is something that is so foreign from this band that was just kind of jarring. It is a infuriating song in the way that a Swan song is, and it is very successful, but it's also very clunky. So I don't know how I feel about it. There's a point where there's a drop and then there's silence, like a pause to kind of regain your energy. But instead of the instruments naturally playing again, he cuts into like a movement that's already happening and fades it in, and it takes me out completely because I want to be in that like organic moment of the song, but he kind of fades in a different part, which is just very strange. I don't know if I liked it. But it's a song that doesn't have it's barely a song. Like it's a cool musical exercise in the merge, but it goes in so many different directions. I can't find my footing, and I think with a Swans album there needs to be some I guess you need to be faked into thinking you know where the song's going in order for when it switches to be powerful. This one just switches constantly. It's all over the place. But then last track, Rope Away. This song is phenomenal. This is one of their best. I think just in general. It's kind of simplistic for them in the way that there's just a pretty massive build that goes out throughout the track. This is very Godspeed in the way that they're playing with guitars here. They have a lot of like soaring, like magnificent guitars on this outro that is just beautiful. It's incredible. I love it as a final statement of the big sound era. This is also the most kind of beggar song too, which I think is why I really gravitate towards it. But very, very nice. I like that there are these kind of magnificent moments that are not jarring in Swan's catalog. They're just like moments of beauty after insanity that you've gone through. So the Rope Away is just phenomenal. I think it would be stronger if the merge kind of ended on a better tone that transitioned it into this. But again, these are all things that are smaller. It's still a really, really fantastic album, and I think it's a really great effort to kind of close this era. I think it's probably equal to The Beggar in terms of how much I like it. The Beggar was great because it focused a lot on songwriting, and I got a lot of the concept, and it had more of a concrete statement on what it wanted to say. It also had The Beggar Lover 3 on it, which is just a fever trip of a song. The 44-minute collage of past works remorphed and contextualized into this dreamy end of life kind of sound. They That's a phenomenal song on that album. I do think this album's a little bit more consistent than The Beggar though, so it does kind of even out. I think they're both pretty great in that regard. But yeah, what a end to a insane period in music for these guys. It's been 42 years since they've started. They've gone through so many different eras and lineups, and there's probably like 50 band members total at this point. Yeah, great work. I don't think The Beggar or Birthing match any of the original trilogy of The Seer, To Be Kind and The Glowing Man, but To Be Kind and The Glowing Man are perfect albums to me, so I don't really expect that. People are really, really enjoying this thing though, so good for them. I think there are some newer Swans fans, so I think this might appeal to them if they got in during The Beggar and that kind of era. But yeah, nothing beats
Nice.
The Glowing Man for me. The Glowing Man is just perfect, but very good. Thank you, Michael. I think it's insane that somebody that is 70 years old can make music that is this demanding and intense consistently. So, yeah, one of a kind. He definitely puts the art before everything else, it seems. So, shout out, Michael. Great job. I'm still digging through this record for sure, too. So, my thoughts might change on it later. But yeah, I do have to get Live Rope somehow. That's their live album that they use to fundraise this thing. That's probably where a lot of the material I heard live would be more authentic to that. So I do want to revisit that. So I'll see if I can get my hands on a copy of that eventually. But yeah, Very good. I think that's the music segment. That was a lot. It was maybe the best week for music this year so far in terms of quality. So, yeah, very, very, very good.
Yes, I haven't listened to anything new. So I have nothing to add.
Well,
Just been listening to Shore and Cease to Begin and Tracy Chapman. Those are the things I'm listening to right now.
it's good range,
And the Carrie and Lowell Deluxe,
of course.
of course. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Period.
Me too.
I don't ever want to talk
Period.
again.
Me too. I usually don't talk this much for a podcast.
I know. I've had a very relaxing time.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it. Next week, maybe I'll come back with Elvis. My dog's doing better. So hopefully, no more emergencies. And it'll be nice. And I love Elvis.
Me too.
He's like my best friend at this point.
I'll always be saying that.
Yeah. Okay, bye bye.